Hi, my name is Stephanie and I'm one of the librarians who works here at UWA Library. This is a recording of an orientation presentation called Exploring Your Library Online for students who weren't able to make it to these presentations during O Week. In Exploring Your Library Online, we're going to talk about the library website and also the library search tool OneSearch. So the library has fantastic physical spaces, but this session is about the online services that the library can offer you and how the library can help you online. So let's have a look at the library's website. So it's pretty easy to get to the library's website. If you just type UWA Library into Google, it will come up as the first result. And there's lots of helpful things on the library's website. So you can see this menu along here, which gives you an idea of all the things in the library's website. We will talk about OneSearch in a minute, but I will also point out you will probably be interested in the sections for spaces, events that are on at the library, such as these Exploring Your Library presentations, the sections about using the library for different types of students, such as undergraduate students or postgraduate students. So as you can see on the main library homepage, the default search box in the middle is for OneSearch. You can also see that there's a tab called UWA Profiles and Research. So all the academics at UWA have profiles in our Profile and Research repository. So perhaps if you're a postgraduate student and you're interested in the research that your supervisor has done, you can find their profile there in the repository. The third search box is for you to search the library website itself for pages and services that you're looking for on our website. Of course, the next thing you'll see is the library's opening hours, which will be very handy for students as well, thinking about when to come in to study. So there are actually 5 libraries at UWA. These presentations in O Week were given in the circle in the centre of Read Library. Scrolling down a little more, you can see the essential services at the library. There's help, for example, with printing and with IT. The main ones I would like to talk about today, though, are booking a space and the library's survival guides. So booking a space will allow you to get to the library's group study rooms, which you'll find really handy while you're studying here at UWA. Quite often you'll have group assignments and you'll need to meet up with the other students to discuss and work on your assignments. So these group study rooms do get very popular. And this is how you can book a space for yourself and fellow students. You can choose one of the libraries. Let's book a room at the Barry J. Marshall Library. You can see which times rooms are available and make a booking by selecting the times on the calendar. You can select different dates, of course, using the calendar like this. So let's have a look at the library's survival guides. These are guides written by the librarians here at UWA on all kinds of topics. You can see that there is a section called How Do I Find?, which has guides to finding slightly more difficult types of information. For example, case law and data and statistics, some medical information, types of information that are a bit more tricky to find. The librarians have provided guides to you to explain how to find those types of information. There's also the section on referencing, which is extremely helpful for students. There's a guide called Referencing at UWA, which just explains some basics of referencing. And then there are guides to all of the styles approved for use at UWA. So full guides with examples of how to create a reference to a journal article, for example, a book, a website, all the different types of sources that you might use in your assignments. There are examples for how to create those references in each of the approved styles we use here at UWA. Let's go back to the library homepage and have a look at the section called Using the Library. For undergraduate students, there's a page here with lots of helpful information. At the moment, because it's during orientation week, there's a section on orientation at the top. There's an explanation of your essential units that you need to complete online. And some more information about support, the facilities in the library, things we can help you with, lots of useful information. There is also an equivalent page for postgraduate students with similar information, helpful things about orientation, the workshops that the library runs, and how the library can support you. Okay, now we'll discuss OneSearch. OneSearch allows you to search the library's physical and online collections. So UWA Library has about 1 million physical books spread across our 5 library locations and also some in external storage. There's also our online collections, which have just as many items as well. Ebooks, journals, newspaper articles, videos, all that kind of information that will be helpful for your assignments, you can find it through OneSearch. Of course, we know that everybody uses Google. And while Google is extremely helpful for some things, let's talk about the differences between the library's OneSearch and Google and why OneSearch will be so important to you for finding information for assignments. So as you can see from the explanation that we have on this slide, the kinds of information you find through OneSearch are different. So OneSearch searches for mostly scholarly information. So higher quality information written by experts and academics. Things like books and journal articles. That kind of information usually can't be found through Google because actually it costs a lot of money to purchase journal articles. So the library subscribes to databases on behalf of our staff and students and provide you with that access. Most journal articles, unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to find through an open web search engine like Google. For this reason, OneSearch is much more helpful for finding information you'll need for university level assignments and research. Of course, there are many things that Google is still extremely helpful for, but you probably won't find the university level academic scholarly information that you need through Google. And of course, as we've alluded to, the information you find in OneSearch is written by experts. Finally, the other reason OneSearch is extremely helpful to you is that there are so many more options for you to narrow down your search results. So if you do a search in Google, if what you're looking for comes up on the first page, perfect. But if it doesn't, there aren't very many options for you to narrow down your results. And if you've ever noticed, you do get very many results when you do a Google search. In OneSearch, you still will get a lot of results, but there are many options for you to narrow down your search results to find exactly the information that you're looking for, instead of having to scroll or read or look through pages and pages of results. So you'll be able to get much more precisely to the information that you need through OneSearch. So let's have a look at OneSearch. So as mentioned, there's a OneSearch search box from the library homepage, but I'm going to go to the full OneSearch website up here. So we definitely recommend signing in to OneSearch. You can sign in using your FEME details, FEME or Uni ID details, which is your student number and the password that you set up on the FEME website. So there are lots of reasons that we recommend signing in to OneSearch. One reason is that some of the articles and databases available through OneSearch are only available to current UWA staff and students, so you have to be signed in to see them. Let's do a search and I'll show you some of the other reasons that signing in is really important. So if I do a quick broad search for climate change, so let's say that this first result was exactly the item that I was looking for my assignment. If I want to save it so I can find it later, to read it later, or to find the information I need to reference it, when you're signed in, you can just click on the little pin symbol and that saves the item up into your favorites. That way, when you're scrolling through a page full of results, you can easily mark the ones that you want to look at and easily find them again later. You can see they're being sent up to the favorites pin up the top here. Similarly, If you've spent some time creating a search, and we will talk about the filters on the left-hand side in a moment, but if you've spent a lot of time creating a search that's getting you really good results, really thinking about the search words and adding in the filters on the left-hand side, you might want to save that search so that you can run it again later without having to remember it or write it down somewhere separately. So you can save that to your favorites in OneSearch as well. So let's have a look at the favorites. So you can see there are the items on climate change that I saved to my favorites. And there is the search that I saved just there. When you're signed into my library account, you can see things like which items do you have on loan and when are they due back, and any items you've requested, what's their status and when are they due to be available to you. So let's talk about how OneSearch can help you get much more precise results. So as you can see, I've retrieved almost 4.5 million results for climate change. That's simply just way too many results to look through. Nobody could ever read all of those. Obviously, we want to narrow it down to exactly the information that we need. And this is where the filters on the left-hand side come in. So, one thing you can do is limit your results to peer-reviewed articles. So peer review means that when an expert academic does an experiment or writes a paper with some new information or a discovery, and they ask a journal to publish it so that other people can read it, a peer-reviewed journal, before they publish the article, will ask another academic expert in that area to read the article and suggest changes and let them know if the article is good enough to be published. So when you select peer-reviewed articles, you can be a little bit more sure that the information that you're using is accurate and reliable because you know it's been checked over by an expert in the field. You can see in OneSearch that when I apply the peer-reviewed filter, it gives this little purple symbol here, which indicates the items are peer-reviewed. Some of the other filters you can use, for example, resource type. If you know that you're searching for a newspaper article or you know you're required to use books or journals for your assignment, you can select here. And narrow your search results down just to the types of sources that you need to use in your assignment. The subject filter on the left-hand side can also be extremely useful for narrowing down your search results to exactly what you're looking for. You can include the subject areas that you are interested in for your topic and exclude the ones that you don't want to include in your search results. The year filter is fairly self-explanatory. For many subjects, of course, we only want to look at the most up-to-date recent research. So you can narrow down your search here. I'm going to narrow this down to results from 2017 onwards. And you can see that's narrowed down the search results quite a lot. There's still too many to read. There's almost 300,000, but just applying those couple of filters has already reduced the search results a lot. So if we want to read this second article in the results list, we can see that this article is available online. So it's not a physical printed item on the shelves in the library, it's one of our online collection. You can click on the title, which brings up more information about the article if you wanted to read the abstract or see more information before you read it. Of course, most of you will have noticed that there's a link right here which says download PDF. So for many online articles, there's a link right there in OneSearch straight to the full text PDF. So if you know you want to read that article straight away, you can just click there. And the full text PDF opens up in a new tab for you. For any articles that don't have a link direct to the full text of the article, when you open up the article and scroll down a little, you'll see this area which says click link below for full text. Clicking in this white area opens up the full text of the article in a new tab. Let's have a look for some physical items now. So if we remove the peer-reviewed tag, then we can add the filter physical items. So you can see straight away from these search results that there are items on the shelf in UWA libraries. This first item, for example, you can see is available on shelf right now at the Education, Fine Arts and Architecture Library. If you go into that library, you can see that the item will have this number, 363.7, on the spine of the book, and that's how you'll find it on the shelf. But if you have any trouble with that, you can always ask the staff members at the library for help. If we find an item that is either not available, so perhaps somebody else is borrowing it, or the item is being stored off-site, you can request it. For example, this item here is in storage. So when you are signed in to OneSearch, you have the option to request items that are on loan or in storage. You can see here this link to request the item. For the last part of this session, I will just point out the library's contact page. From the library homepage, it's this link here from the top menu. So librarians are here to help students with things like using OneSearch, searching for information for your assignments, and how to reference that information correctly in your assignments. Also, the staff on the desks at the UWA libraries can help you with using systems like Unify and the UniID or FEMI and the LMS. So if you have any questions about that, please also come into a library for those. On the Contact Us page, you can see how to submit questions to Ask UWA and get the individual phone numbers for each of the library locations. And also contact librarians who are specialists for your area of study. Something else to mention is that there is a great area of UWA called Study Smarter, so it's highly recommended to go along to a Study Smarter workshop. While librarians were running this Exploring Your Library online workshop during O Week, we did have some questions from students who were sitting in front of us in the audience. So I thought I would share these questions on video so that you don't miss out from watching at home. So one of the questions that we had was, how do you find exam papers, so previous exam papers for the unit that you're studying, because of course they can be so helpful for revising. The answer is you can find them in OneSearch. So if you search for your unit code in OneSearch, you can see here for this first year mathematics unit, there are some of the previous exam papers. These exam papers are only available through OneSearch if your unit coordinator has agreed to make them available. So if you have any questions about which papers are available, ask your unit coordinator. But if there should be some papers available, they will be available through OneSearch just by searching for your unit code. Another question that students asked was about printing at UWA libraries. So you can print in any of the libraries from the library computers. You will need to put some money onto your student card first though. Then when you log into the library computers, you'll see a little pop-up showing how much money you have available on your card. You can also print from home using the web print service. Then you just scan your student card at any of the printers in the library and your print jobs will release. The final question that was asked in the workshops was about the Find It at UWA link that you sometimes see if you're searching Google Scholar. So Google Scholar is a section of Google that does allow you to search some academic papers. If you've searched for an article, for example, in Google Scholar, and you've found it, you can get straight to the full text at UWA Library using that little link, Find It at UWA. If UWA Library has access to the item, the Find It at UWA link takes you to the item in OneSearch so that you can get access to the full text. You can set up this Find It at UWA link on your own computer in the Google Scholar settings. From everyone at UWA Library, I hope this presentation has been helpful to you to understanding the kind of services you can get online and how UWA Library can help you.